Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome. I'm Reverend Joy Fletcher, and I'm so happy that you could join us today on Divine Science Everywhere. Some of the ways that I express ministry is I've been reelected as the president of Divine Science Ministers Association, and I'm a member of Divine Science Federation International and Anton, and a board member of INTA, and I also do other things such as I'm a hospice bereavement coordinator and guest speaker and lead grief support groups. So welcome.
And I'm Reverend Jeff. Hi, how are you all? Thanks for joining us. Aside from being one of the co-hosts here on Divine Science Everywhere, I also show up in the evening on Fridays with Reverend Michael Mangus for the Friday Fireside Chat here on New Thought Media Network, so you could check that out. Also check out my Facebook ministry page, Giati Ministries, Giati. You'll find me there as well. And so happy to have you with us. We are not letting Bishop Durrell say anything right now because he is our guest today. And so we're going to be talking to him quite a lot. So we thought we'd just put him off to the side for right now. But and he's being a really good sport about it too. So, but we're happy to have you. And this is one of Bishop's favorite times. It's one of the favorites for me as well. It's when we get to sit back and let Reverend Joy take us on a nice, calming, centering moment.
Well, thank you. My pleasure. So let's take one deep, gentle breath so that we arrive fully into this moment, consciously into this moment. Today, we honor World AIDS Day, and we remember those we have lost. We bless those living with HIV today, and we recognize the caregivers, advocates, families, and communities who have walked this road with courage and love. Through grief, through triumph, through every unfolding chapter. So as we breathe again, we anchor ourselves in acceptance, inclusion, and non-judgment. We affirm the sacred dignity of every life, the worth of every story, and the beauty of human diversity as expression of the One. And in this awareness, we let the voice of new thought guide us. Melinda Kramer wrote in Hidden Harmony in 1905, "Love is a universal healer. It knows no barrier, no separation, and goes freely to all as the nature of God itself. End of quote. Now let that settle into the heart. Love without barrier, love that reaches all. And as we continue, from Mysteries by Nona Brooks, nothing stands between us and God. We live in God, and God lives in us. One life, one love. If nothing stands between God and us, then nothing stands between us and each other. Not diagnosis, not identity, not history or fear. Ernest Holmes wrote, "We must learn to see God in every person, not as they appear, but as they truly are, whole, divine, beloved." So this is our spiritual invitation today, to see through the eyes of love, to live without stigma, to live one another as an expression of the infinite. And in this consciousness, we also hold the comfort of Scripture from Romans 8:38-39. Nothing can separate us from the love of God. Not life, nor death, not fear, nor the unknown. In love, we remain one. So let us remember it. Not illness, not circumstance, not the past. Love is what remains. Love holds, love restores. So as we breathe once more, in remembrance of those we have lost, for those who live and thrive, for givers, for survivors, for the world, we continue to see, experience, and hold in compassion. May this day renew in us a commitment to see the divine in every face, to lead with love, and to live as healers, to model our awareness that nothing can separate us from our source. We live and move and have our being in this omnipresence, which is absolute good and eternal life, in all, through all, as all. And so it is.
And so it is. All right. We're going to let Bishop speak, just enough to take us into our commercial break.
Well, it is time for a little break, and we're back in a couple of minutes. This is Divine Science Everywhere at News Thought Media Network.
Welcome back, everybody. We are very happy to be doing this show with you. When Reverend Joy and I talked about doing this, we wanted to ask another one of our colleagues to join us and help carry the load, and he has been awesome while he does it, Reverend Bishop Durrell Watkins. Now, y'all have heard bits and pieces of his story, so I don't need to tell you a whole lot about him. You know that he is the senior minister at Sunshine Cathedral in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He's also the current president of Divine Science Federation International. He's a lifetime member of International New Thought Alliance. And in addition to his New Thought studies, Durrell also holds a Master of Divinity degree from Union Theological Seminary and a Doctor of Ministry degree from the Episcopal Divinity School. He's nothing if not overeducated. For today's show, which is remembering World's AIDS Day that occurs every year on December 1st, Bishop Durrell is speaking with us as someone who has lived well with an HIV diagnosis for 34 years. He's awesome, and I am so proud to call him my friend, my coworker, and our co-host. So here he is, Bishop Durrell. And I have a question that you have kind of sort of touched on in the past, but you didn't really go into it as much as I would have liked. And I'm going to ask you the same question I ask everybody else. How did you find New Thought?
Actually, I was, I think, a freshman in college, and I loved church. I always go to church, but I worked on Sundays at this barbecue restaurant, and so I worked various, I was in college, so I had to work these odd shifts, so nights, weekends, whatever, and I had to open up on Sundays, so I couldn't go to mass, I couldn't go to my church, and but right next door to the barbecue place was a Unity church. And so they had a service at 11 and my shift started at 12. They didn't end right at 12, but I could still get most of it and then just zip right next door. And so I went there because it was right there. And of course, I was pretty quickly hooked. And then I got more deeply into it when I moved to Dallas. That was in Arkansas. And then when I moved to Dallas, I had a sort of just a counseling need. And I looked for a New Thought minister and I found a religious science minister and I started seeing her and then taking her classes. And then when I moved to Florida, the person I was working with was a member of INTA. So I went to an INTA Congress and that's where I found divine science. And so I just kept stumbling into it. And so I've been in it since I'm like 18, 19, and I'm 59 now. So 40 years. And I guess it found me.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I love that combination of barbecue and Unity.
It's so perfect.
It is. It's a perfect Sunday. And then that's perfect too, about how we're led serendipitously to places that just where adventure and discovery waits for us. It's wonderful. I love that. It's a good reminder. Just trust.
I just wanted to go to church somewhere, and then later I just needed a little bit of counseling, and then another time I just went to a little conference, and I just showed up these places, and it happened.
And here you are. Ta-da!
Yeah.
So tell us more about you.
Well, let's see. As a child, my family was a mixture of Southern Baptists, United Methodists, and Roman Catholics, and so I was innately religious, and I sort of just soaked up all of that. And then in college, after the Unity experience, which was just a convenience, but I took to it quickly. I transferred to another place, and I was going to a Catholic church, Sacred Heart, or I was trying to find it. I just went there, and I did go the first Sunday, but across the street was a church called St. Barnabas, and it was an Episcopal church. And I just thought, well, I'd like to see what that was about. And so I fell in love with that and became an Episcopalian. I was confirmed an Episcopalian. I wanted to be an Episcopal priest, but there was this thing about I always have to be brutally honest. And so I was out. I was gay and I was out. And this is the 80s. There were like two dioceses back there in the whole entire Episcopal church that would ordain out gay people. And mine was not one of them. And so then I wound up going to MCC, which was a denomination founded by and with a primary outreach to LGBTQ plus people. And I was already ordained then. Well, not quite ordained, I guess, because I'd already found that Unity Church first. But and I was in the process of getting ordained when I found the Religious Science Church, but I was fully ordained when I found Divine Science and then got ordained again in Divine Science. So it was a complete just journey, just one thing and then another. And all of it, like I learned something in all of it and brought that into the next phase. So yeah, I'm Divine Science, but I'm Anglican Divine Science, and I'm Humanist Divine Science, and I'm Queer Divine Science. I'm Divine Science, but I'm all the things that led to Divine Science also.
Right. Wonderful. So Tell us about your journey and why you're passionate to share hope and inspiration with World AIDS Day.
Well, I'm 34 years living with HIV, and which means 58% of my life so far, well over half my life so far, I have been living with HIV. And my second ministry, I was an interim lay pastor for about a year, and then right after that, I became an AIDS chaplain. I was still in theology school, and so for 3 years I was an AIDS chaplain, and then a little bit later I did that gig again at another place for about a couple of years. And so AIDS ministry was a lot of my early ministry formation. And so I had done between 94 and 97. In those 3 years, I'd done 100 funerals. Most of those before I turned 30. I turned 30 in 96. So I did 100 funerals, most before I was 30, and never of anyone over the age of 50. That's a unique way to come of age. Well, it wasn't unique because that's just how it was back then. And so a lot of my passion is gratitude for having survived that time. And also, we didn't, because of that health issue at that time, the LGBTQ community, especially gay men, we lost a generation.
Yes.
And so I have this honor and responsibility and breaking new ground. I get to be the elder that we didn't have.
Right.
I'm 59. Nobody knew me by 59 back then. Or if you did, they were in ICU or they were in a hospice or whatever. So I'm very passionate because I have this great good fortune of growing into that elder role that my younger generation was denied because people were dying. So it is something I'm passionate about because I have this new role now that we didn't have when I was coming up. And then also when we were in the thick of it all, one of the things I got to share with people is when they would say, I've got this diagnosis or I've got this illness or whatever, and I could say, me too. And they could see that I wasn't afraid, and they could see that I was living well. And so I could use my story to give them hope, to let them know this isn't predetermined. This can go 20 different ways. It is way too soon to give up. And so that was a real joy for me to be able to say, I'm here with you. I'm not giving up. And so you don't have to either. And that was something that not everyone had. Some people, they were ill. They really couldn't get out and do much, or they didn't have to face it. So they didn't know what it was like. And I had this unique position of knowing what they were facing, but also being able to show you can do this. And so it's just formative. It's just part of my life, part of how I became an adult, and then now how I'm becoming an elder. That HIV is just part of that story and part of my ministry. So when I talk about healing, it's not theoretical for me. Or when I talk about going to peace instead of to pieces, or when I talk about fear being, and this, of course, I stole this from Zig Ziglar. When I talk about fear being having the option of facing everything and rising, above it, that these are my personal witness. These are my personal testimony. If I talk about, being a zillionaire, that's theoretical. I have not yet, got my hands on $1 zillion. But when I talk about going to peace instead of to pieces, or beating some odds, I can speak with that with authority and experience.
I'm inspired how you give back. It's you are sharing so generously, possibly because you appreciate your life, and so it's part of your DNA, your ministry, to give back to others and demonstrate that hope and inspiration and strength and courage, all of that. So that's great. Super.
And HIV is not the last crisis. I mean, we had 9/11 and we had COVID, and so it's a useful story to tell over and over. So I mean, this it may not be your exact experience, but we've all been through stuff and come through it.
Yes.
And not only got through it, but build something new and wonderful on the other side of it. So if we share those stories, that does encourage us, and it lets people know they have more power than they've been told, or more power than they've been led to believe. And so yeah, you can face this. You can get through it. Maybe you overcome it. Maybe you find some way of using it to some great benefit or whatever. But whatever they told you in the doctor's office or in the employment office or at the weather service or whatever they told you, that was information. That was not the end of the story. That was information, and you were completely at choice about how you respond to that information.
You're absolutely. I agree with that. Would you share your story about how you went to a minister and how she used that term about information?
Oh, absolutely. I had a friend at the county health department, and I used to get tested all the time. And it just occurred to me, I just gotten busy, and I hadn't been tested in a while. I mean, more than a couple of years. And I used to get tested every few months, and now it's like I've let 2.5, 3 years go by. What happened? So I got tested, but I was a little worried about it because I'd gotten out of the habit, so it was no longer routine. So now there's some anxiety. But my friend at the health department came to my office. I was minister of a church. And he came to my office and he gave the test there. And I gave an anonymous name. That we did anonymous testing back then. And I gave an anonymous name. And he did the testing right there. And so it was in a familiar and safe place with someone I knew and trusted. It made it nicer. And then when he came back a week or two later, I forget the timeline. I think maybe it was 1 week. When he came back with the results, they were positive. And he was sad. And I was strangely okay. And to this day, and I'm talking about this with my therapist right now, the sky is falling, and I somehow can face it, help other people face it, maybe even laugh through it, just be inappropriately gallows humory about it or whatever. Okay. But if I chip a nail or if I'm having a bad hair day, my life is ruined, and there's no reason to go on. And like I catastrophize things. Yes. That are sort of minimal, while at the same time, when it's big, I somehow am able to face it, and even not even be that worried about it. So he was very sad, and I was like, well, this was always it was going to be one way or the other, and this was always chance, and this happens to people, and so I wasn't really that bothered then, but I would have moments after that, and so it wasn't too long. It might have been the next day, even, I don't know, certainly within a week. I called. When I told you earlier that I'd gone for some emotional support from a religious science minister, well, I called her. And she didn't even start ministry school until she was 60. And she was in ministry until she was like 92. And then she finally retired and died at 93. But so she was like this, and I'm, in my, I'm not 30 yet. And so I called, so she had this sort of grandmotherly, certainly motherly, maybe even grandmotherly aura, energy. And I think it was part of her success. So everyone just loved Reverend K. And she wore flashy. She'd been a entertainment promoter back in a previous life. So she wore flashy clothes and big flashy glasses and a big updo wig and painted like a drag queen and had perfect nails and a ring on every finger. She was that lady. And so you call drag queen, Tammy Faye of New Thought, Granny Reverend. And I told her, this is what's happened. I've tested positive. And I'd heard her tell stories before of healing. She told the story about these twins that were born, and one was fine, but the other one was circling the drain from the beginning, almost no chance. And instead of saying, going in and saying a prayer, oh God, please, fix this or whatever. Of course, that's not the New Thought way. But she didn't even go through a 5 or 6 step treatment. She just talked to the baby. And she said, there are people, if you want to move on, the next world's fine, and you'll do great there. But if you want to stay, you've got people who are loving you. You'll get just as much love as your twin sister. Your parents would love you to stay. you're not going to be alone, and you're going to be okay here too. So if you go, you're okay. If you stay, you're okay. But if you choose to stay, we're here for you, and we'll just love you. So glad you do stay. And that baby got better, and those twins did not have to be separated by death. And she told another story of a woman with cancer who she had a midweek healing service every week, and she came to the healing service, and she would sort of, as she was led, like she would give a blessing to each person. She didn't have a formulaic blessing or the same one treatment for everybody. They would come up, and she would give the blessing that person needed. And when this woman came up, her hair was gone, she wrapped up in a scarf and all that. And her blessing to this woman was, I love you with the love of God. Mm-hmm. And that woman went into remission. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she's who I called. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna get this special word, right? And she's gonna make me feel good. She's gonna tell me I'm loved with the love of God, or that I can choose to stay, and I'll have good, I'll have a support system or whatever. She's gonna tell me these sweet words, and so I'm waiting for it. So I'm like, this is what happened, and her response to me was, "Oh, darling, that's just information." Okay, you were way sweeter with these other stories. We're gonna have a hug and a tear. I mean, we're on the phone, but I'm imagining like just a big old squeezy hug, and she's gonna commiserate. And no, she had no time for that. I said, "Oh, darling, that's just information. Now, what are we gonna do with it?" And it kept me from being afraid, and it empowered me. It's like, oh yeah, this is what it is. Mm-hmm. What am I gonna do about it? Right. Well, her assistant was also HIV positive. And he did this weekend retreat that I went to, and it was called AIDS as a Healer. Mm-hmm. Not from AIDS, but AIDS as a Healer. And one of the exercises that we did there was he asked us to write a letter to AIDS. Mm-hmm. And that sounds kind of cheesy, but I paid for the retreat. I'm there anyway. So I did. I wrote a letter to AIDS. And I sort of offered this détente with the virus, because I said, you're doing what you're doing to survive, and I want to survive. But if you knock me off, you don't survive. You need a host, and I'm it. And so you need me, and I need you not to take me out if I'm going to stick around, and you need me to not drop dead if you want to stick around. So let's work this out. So I write this letter, and I offer this détente that, okay, you won't be too mean to me, and I won't regret you. I certainly had a good time getting you, and we're just both wanting to survive. So let's just don't be mean to each other, and we'll figure out a way to live together with this. Mm-hmm. I even talked about my body being a comfortable home. It's a line from Rent, that my body is a comfortable home for the human immunodeficiency virus. And so if I'm going to be a comfortable home, she could be a pleasant guest. Mm-hmm. And as I said in my talk this Sunday, so far, these 34 years, we have both kept to that agreement. So that was a very sort of healing way. So I just learned these ways, because of good teachers, to go to peace instead of to pieces. That's actually a line. I use it all the time. People think it's mine. I actually got it from Reverend Kay. She used to say that all the time. And so I just learned these ways of, this is what it is. This is information. Now what? In fact, Reverend Kay used to say that. So what, now what? Here's the thing. So what, now what? She had another associate who would say, taking a what so and making it a so what. But her line was, so what, now what? And that has for me, everyone has to find their own way. But for me, that was a life-saving attitude. 34 years with this illness. In fact, when I was diagnosed, my CD4 cells were 114, which was an AIDS diagnosis. Below 200 was, even though I felt fine, I had an AIDS diagnosis. Way back when, if you had less than 500, that was ARC, AIDS-related complex. They don't call that anymore. Now, if you have 500 T cells, they call that healthy. It was ARC. And then if you had 200, less than 200, that was AIDS. So I have 100, or at that time, I had 114 CD4 cells. And a relatively low viral load. Because I always said, if my CD4 cells get below 200, or my viral load gets over 30,000, I'll go on the meds. And which weren't great in those days, but I mean, now we have a zillion. In those days, we had like 4. And so I said less than 200 and over 2,000, because usually less than 200 T cells, you might have 100,000 viral load. Well, I only had 114 CD4s, but my viral load was only 20,000. So I'm like, wait, that wasn't the offer I made to the universe. So anyway, eventually I got on the meds, and immediately the viral load went to undetectable. And with the exception of a few blips over the years, have stayed that way. And my CD4s, they stayed around 400 or 500 for years and years and years, but they seem to be enough. And these days, they're usually over 600, sometimes even over 700. You probably have 1,100, 1,200, but still, I'm better than I've been in 30 years with the CD4 cells, and I remain undetectable, which means that the virus is so inactive that it doesn't show up in test. I think it's anything below 20 something per milliliter, they just can't see it. So undetectable means you have that little or less. And so I have no viral load, and I have probably not as many CD4 cells as you have, but still plenty. And I've never had an opportunistic infection. I've never had PCP pneumonia. I've never had thrush. I've never had CMV retinitis. I've never had wasting syndrome. I haven't had obvious lipodystrophy. I sometimes say, well, I struggle with weight. Maybe it's a little bit. It's not lipo. My mother married a fat man, but it's. I just haven't had opportunistic infections. I've been so lucky, or so blessed.
Or basically, what you're telling us is we're going to have to beat you with a stick in order to take you out.
Well, I actually struggle more. I've actually had to work harder with high blood pressure, cholesterol, weight gain, those things. But I've also had other healing experiences. I mean, because if you have one, you can have others. I had a detached retina several years ago, and I was just legally blind in one eye all of a sudden. And of course, I thought, well, whatever this is, this will go away. So I walked around for a couple of weeks with one functioning eye. I finally go to the optometrist. I'm like, I should get glasses or something. This isn't right. And she's like panicking and like gets me immediately in to see a retinal specialist. And it's over Thanksgiving weekend. And everyone in town is at an ophthalmology conference in Las Vegas, except this one guy who just happens to be like the most renowned retinal specialist in the county. And and he's the only one I can see. He's the only one available. And so I got him, and he said, "Oh, your retina's detached, and I can reattach it, but who knows? I can't promise any results." He was very conservative about that sort of thing. Meanwhile, he's the best eye surgeon, around. So anyway, I'm like, "Well, do what you can, and it'll be fine." And sure enough, the treatment gave me cataracts, and then another ophthalmologist removed the cataracts. So this is about a year-long process. And at the end of it, these are completely cosmetic, by the way. This is a zero prescription. These are just plastic in plastic because I like the way they look. Because I have 20/20 vision. I went from legally blind to 20/20.
That's awesome.
and no cataracts. And so, and I've been wearing glasses, like real glasses, since I'm 12. So I have these experiences. Now there are other things that have not worked out quite so well or quite so quickly, or I had more fear around it or whatever. But to go from blind to 20/20, and from HIV during a time when it was a death sentence to 34 years later, I'm still around and feeling good. If I remember those stories, then I'm not too depressed about the bunion. It's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Or I was born with some spinal birth defects, but I've never had surgery. I've never had a brace. It's all manageable with various modalities. And so whenever something isn't that, the result isn't that exciting, if I remember the times that it worked out exactly the way I would have it, it gives me hope and it gives me patience. And it says, this stuff works. It's, whatever the hiccup is with this, we'll just keep working on it. But I've had enough experiences to know that it works, as Johnny Coleman said, and as AA says, it works if you work it. So, like this one worked, so don't give up, because if you keep working it, it will get better. I said at one point, I'm an academic. I love learning and I love studying and researching. I've written 2 master's theses and a doctoral thesis, and I remember saying at one point that I wanted a doctorate degree by the time I was 40.
Mm-hmm.
So it was out loud, meant it. And I was 43 when I got it. But I got a second master's along the way. So I picked up another master. So if it wasn't for that 2-year master's degree, I had a 2-year master's degree and a 3-year master's degree. If I hadn't, it was all none wasted, I loved every minute of it. But if I hadn't done the first one, and if I hadn't in the year between starting ending one and starting another one, that would have been 40. You know what I mean? So, but I chose to do more, and so it became at 43. So I got it. I got the doctorate. I got it. I got an extra master's along the way, and all within 3 years of my goal. And another time, Robert and I, we lived in the Northeast. We were on vacation in Florida. We were in January kayaking, which you couldn't do in Massachusetts and New York, where we had 2 homes, and we basically lived on Amtrak. And we looked at each other and said at the same time in this kayak, we're moving here. And then I even added, we're moving here by the time we're 40. And I started my ministry here at Sunshine Cathedral when I was 39. So I have these stories. I have these experiences. If you'll say it. Now, I've had lots of times, please God, fix it, that didn't work, because that's not the best way to do that. When I have said with authority, with conviction, when I see it in my mind, when I say it as if it's mine to lay hold of, just like I'm punching in my pin at the ATM and expecting the money to come out. When I approach it that way, things work out really, really well, really, really often.
And that's a wonderful reminder that even though we've had success in different areas of our life and just experienced so much good, there are moments that we slip, we forget. The physicality and the fear and things seem to take over, and so we pull back and say, "Wait a minute, I'm not a victim here, not at all."
And that brings up a question. I apologize. That brings up a question for me, because we all tend to forget. Even those of us who have been studying metaphysical principles for forever forget from time to time. And we're closer toward the end of our life than we are the beginning, and that's okay. I've noticed with a lot of people who are not New Thought, but even some New Thought people, they tend to claim their illness or their condition or whatever. They forget that we are not that, and it is not us. Has that been a difficult thing for you? Because you've lived with HIV for a long time now, and you've had other things going on. I've got stuff going on right now with me, and I catch myself before I speak. I have to stop and say, my body is feeling pain, or I am feeling pain, but I don't want to say my pain, my arthritis, my this, my that, because that's not what I want to claim. It sounds like it's not been that much of an issue for you, because it sounds like you speak your word and you got good stuff happening. And
when I remember to do it, that's the thing. That's a bit right. And I was so programmed. My mother was a worrier. My grandmother was a worrier, and I actually am programmed to worry.
It's a Watkins thing, because my mother was a Watkins.
See,
so we're probably related somewhere along the line.
Oh, all of us in the mountains are. We were from different mountain ranges, but still the mountains. We're
hillbillies.
We are.
My great grandmother was born in Arkansas too.
See, I love being a hillbilly. I feel like I betrayed the hills when I moved to Florida and became a cracker, but I am a proud and native hillbilly. But I was sort of programmed to worry. So New Thought is actually my salvation with that, because without this teaching and the support of this sort of community, I would probably be telling different stories if I were alive to tell any story. Do you know what I mean? But I do know I can. It's just like A Course in Miracles says, I could choose peace instead of this. And so when I remember that, I mean, I've read this stuff, and I've talked to people, I've heard the lectures, and I've had my own demonstrations. Now I just need to remember today that it's going to work today the way it worked yesterday. that it always is available. And that I can be very prosperous if I never get another paycheck. That if I die before this show is over, I can die whole and healthy and complete. So, I mean, there's also the perspective that none of us are getting off this planet alive. So the day's going to come. I hope it's after I've done all the things I want to do, and and I'm ready to go. But I'm not afraid of what's next anyway, because if there's something, I assume it's going to be good, and if there's nothing, I won't know. So I'm not afraid of that. But I just want to, I want to do the things I want to do. I want to be around for people who love me and who I love, and so I do want to stick around for a bit, and living a healthy, happy life is just good for its own sake anyway. So, and this stuff, I never make promises. I never say, "Oh, I'm gonna fix you." But I can give my witness. I can give my experience. I can say this is how it's worked in my life when I apply these principles in these ways, and I'm not particularly special. So if I've been able to do it, it can be done. I'm not Jesus, I'm not Buddha, I'm not Socrates, I'm not Muhammad. And so, if I've had lots of good breaks, there are good breaks to be had. And so you can work on that. Now, and what's been very helpful to me is specifically divine science ideology, which is that and Nono says this, that we always go back to our basis, omnipresence. We always go back to our basis, omnipresence. And if God is omnipresent, everywhere evenly present, if God is fully everywhere evenly present, what else is there? If there's anything else, then God isn't omnipresent. Because if this book isn't part of, if this journal here, if this isn't part of God, then this is one little space that God doesn't exist, which makes God not omnipresent. So this right here has to be part of isness. If this is, and God is all that is, this has to be part of the isness. So I don't have to worry about medicine. I'll take medicine. Like, fine if I don't, if I don't need it. But if I and surely if I had the right kind of consciousness, I could say, oh yeah, I don't have this or that, and it just goes away. But I apparently don't. I mean, these glasses are fake, but until about 5 years ago, these glasses were necessary. You know what I mean? And so I needed glasses. I didn't feel bad about that. Thank God for glasses, right? So, but it's all God for me. So I don't have to, it's not a dichotomy for me. The medicine is one of the zillion ways God shows up. The brilliance that created the medicine, one of the zillion ways God shows up. My body that metabolizes the medicine, one of the zillion ways that God shows up. So that's been a very saving philosophy for me, the divine science, because it hits home, I think, more explicitly, more clearly than any of the other traditions. We all say it. But divine science, it's like we're radical about it, about this omnipresence, because now nothing is that economy. It's all God. So I can have surgery that gives me 20/20 eyesight, and I can take medicine that gives me an undetectable viral load, and so I don't mind, and I can if I'm having a bad back day, I can lean on a cane. And thank God for the cane. That cane is one more way that God has shown up. So the omnipresence makes me, like, I don't fight with myself about results. I detach from results and know that because it's all God, if I will trust it, it's going to turn out in a pretty great way. And if I'm very, very clear about what I'm seeing, it's probably going to turn out very close to that way. But even when I can't get a good picture, I can still trust that there's one power, one presence. I'm part of it. It's all good. That's usually going to end up in a way that I can be grateful for.
Do you use these as regular affirmations, or just in the moment something comes up and you just kind of remind yourself? Because I know there are a lot of people who are adamant about doing affirmations all the time, or several times a day, and then there's other people just seem to be going through life, and then whenever something happens, they make whatever affirmation and then move on without doing it. So what's your practice with that?
I usually end every day with intentional prayer, and that prayer is usually gratitude. I start with gratitude for the good stuff, and then affirmations for me and for the people I'm that are on my mind, on my heart. And then my practice in the morning when I first wake up before I even get out of bed, is to do affirmations. They're usually the same sort of simple ones. All is well. I'm safe. All things are working together for my highest good. Everything is working together for my highest good. I expect and accept blessings today. That sort of thing. And then usually there's more of a formal, complete sort of prayer treatment in the shower. And then beyond that, it's catch as catch can, whatever comes up. And it's, frequent throughout the day, but it's not necessarily planned. But when I go to bed and when I wake up and when I shower, those are all pretty routine, pretty ritualized. And then beyond that, as it pops up.
Nice. Well, that's a great deal of inspiration. I really appreciate it. And I know our viewers will too. So.
And I'm working on stuff. I mean, it's taken me 59 years to achieve a lot of things. I'm expecting I have decades more to achieve more. And sometimes it's like, oh, wow, that was almost miraculous. And other times it's like, why did that take so long? Or why am I not there yet? And so part of the healing for me is also reminding yourself, it's all a dance. God isn't the dancer, God's the dance. And so to not, part of the healing is to not judge yourself for when or how it happens. Everyone has challenges. Everyone has some days that are better than other days, more money at this point in their life than others, better health at this point in your life than others, more friends at this time in your life than others. That's life. So I think we actually get in our own way when we beat ourselves up with why am I, I'm faking it. I'm a big fraud. Why did this relationship go south? Or, why am I struggling with finances right now? Because it's just right now. And this is an opportunity. This is a situation that has an opportunity to heal, and it could heal in this moment or over the next 6 years. And it happens the way it happens. Yes. And it's all good and it's all God. And so that's the thing that I have to work on. Not that it can happen. I know it can happen, but to not be mean to me when it doesn't happen on my schedule.
Yeah. And a good reminder is that it's temporary. Everything's temporary. Really.
Everything impermanent. The Buddha said, nothing is permanent. Your good day isn't going to last forever, and your bad day isn't going to last forever. But your peace can last forever.
Yes.
Yeah. It reminds me of an old saw that I heard a while back. Somebody said, it says in the Bible, and it came to pass. It didn't come to stay, it came to pass.
Yeah. I think it was Winston Churchill that says, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah.
I like that.
Don't set up camp in hell. If you're going through hell, keep going. So, y'all, I wish you'd look at the time. I'm going to let me just tell you about some people, and then we'll do a break, and Reverend Joy can wrap us up. Thank you so much for letting me tell my story and share a little bit of my ministry. And it was important to me. You both have done it already, but I wanted to wait until around World AIDS. This is the show closest to World AIDS Day because it was just on Monday. And this is, for now obvious reasons, an important day for me. We lost really great people, and we've also had some pretty amazing survivors. And I want to honor both of those groups of people every year, and I try to. And this year, one of those ways was doing this with you guys today. So thanks for letting me do that. Let me tell you about Daisy Baum. She was an early teacher and writer of the Divine Science, and Divine Science was actually what healed her, or her use of the principle healed her from basically what they used to call a nervous breakdown. A prayer that she wrote in one of her books, God, I acknowledge thy loving goodness everywhere, even within myself. Thou art the life that animates me. Thou art the power that sustains me. Thou art the wisdom that heals me. Thou art the love that surrounds me. I rest in and trust thy unfailing intelligence to guide me in all my ways. The reason I shared that today is because that prayer is currently part of our liturgy at the Sunshine Cathedral. We pray that we've been praying that prayer weekly for a while now. The next
Baum's birthday was just the other day.
Exactly. These people that I bring up usually either their birthday or their death date was within some time of me mentioning them. Helen Zagat. Not enough people know about her. She was amazing. She only wrote one book that I know of, but she, which was called Faith in Works. Not a huge book, but a powerful book. So if you can find it even in a used bookstore or Abe's books or any of those things, half price books, Find it, get it. It's really worth it. She was a dancer of all things, and a graduate of Barnard College, which is affiliated with Columbia. But she was a divine science minister, and she was the pastor of the Church of Divine Unity in New York City. She stressed 5 attributes of God, which are life, wisdom, love, power, and substance. Life, wisdom, love, power, and substance. That one book has influenced me so much, and my ministry. The next person I want to tell you about is C. Alan Anderson. He died in 2012, but he was a very nice guy and an academic. He was a process New Thought philosopher, combining process philosophy, Whitehead's process philosophy, with New Thought. And in fact, he wrote his PhD dissertation at Boston University on Horatio W. Dresser and the philosophy of New Thought. So he was a proper academic philosopher with a PhD from Boston University, and but philosophy is what got him, I think, into New Thought. And his brand of New Thought was sort of unity influence. The next person is Charles Hannell. He was the author of the Master Key system, and a lot of his work is used in The Secret. James Allen, best known for his book As a Man Thinketh, and his work has also influenced. Wallace Wattles was the main one for The Secret, but also James Allen and Hannell. So he counseled one's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. Let's see, that lady, Mrs. Eddy, Mary Baker Eddy. She died in 1910. She, of course, is the founder of Christian Science, the author of Science and Truth with Key to the Scriptures. She was influenced by Parkhurst Quimby, Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, though she later in her career denied it, but she clearly was. And that's fine. We're all influenced by somebody. I don't know why she thought she needs, but whatever. She was influenced by him. And then she influenced Emma Curtis Hopkins, and who went on to do her own thing. But Mary Baker Eddy was important in that whole mix. And Mary Emma Dryden, maybe not as historically famous as these others, but she served from 2009 to 2022 as the senior minister of Quimby Memorial Church in Secaucus, New Jersey. And she was also the president and later secretary of the Divine Science Federation International, and just a really, really sweet human being. And then I think, one more, F. Bernadette Turner. She was a sociologist, a social worker, a psychologist, a divine science minister, and finally in her 80s, an Episcopal priest. And she had combined the traditional with the New Thought to create her ministry. Also, Fanny Brooks James, the sister of Nona. She was sort of the systematic theologian of the family. She wrote, "If God is omnipresence, there is nothing anywhere but God." And I'm gonna stop with that. But just we haven't done them in a while, in a couple of weeks, so I wanted to get several in there. We have so many great minds in our legacy and our tradition. Another one of those great minds, or maybe 3, are on this show right now, but one is going to close us out in a bit. Right after this word, we are Divine Science Everywhere, and we are the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Well,
You know what? I realized that I was very sort of monologue-y today. I apparently had a lot to say. So if either of you have like something to say, something to add, something to observe, Joy's always very quick at the end. I always think, oh, we have, but she doesn't like a minute or two. So if either of you want to, I'm sorry I was so chatty, but if either of you want to say something.
We're used to you.
No, perfect as far as I'm concerned. So thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes. The time just flew by. Interesting, fascinating. And next week, our guest is Reverend Suzanne Carter, and she is a unity minister as well as a relationship coach and a grief recovery specialist. And so that should be very interesting. And the following week, the three of us are engaging in a metaphysical discussion about the symbols for the holiday season, Christmas. And then the last Friday of the month, we are replaying Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson. And then be sure to join us on the first Friday in January as the three of us talk about the metaphysics of new beginnings. So all of them should be fun, and we really appreciate that you're joining us, and make sure you like and share us, and we'll see you next time. And remember, this is Divine Science Everywhere, and that omnipresence is always, always there, always, always, and all, through all, and as all. So we'll see you later on New Thought Media Network. Bye-bye.
Bye.